Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Deckin Around. My name's Tyler.
I'm Steve.
And today we are really excited to have Christian Ellingstad on the show. You may better know Christian as the designer and creator behind Arcadia Playing Cards. But before we jump into it today, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel.
And ring the bell.
Yeah. And a quick word from our sponsors here. Docks Playing Cards, the driving force behind Lit Playing Cards, Juice Joints, and McClure and Stark. Keep an eye out for what's to come next in 2020. Follow along at Docks Playing Cards on Instagram or docksplayingcards.com.
Hummingbird Feathers mimics the shimmer of a hummingbird in motion. Meticulously created with a specialized printing process using multiple holographic foils. Stunning tuck design and sculpted embossing with master letterpress creation. Featuring limited, standard, and gilded 3-deck sets. Pre-order yours today at marvelousdecks.com.
So now, Steve, I know you are super excited about today's guest.
I really am. I'm not going to lie.
And Christian has been on our agenda for a bit now, and we've both been really excited to get him on. I feel like it's been a while since we actually had a designer on the show. I was thinking about this the other day, and it's been probably like almost 2 months now at this point.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so
I mean, like literal designer. Obviously, we've had Alex, and he's a designer.
Yeah, but our last one was like our last official designer I'd say was Karen Yan.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's been a bit. Yeah. So without further ado, we are excited to have another designer on the show. Here is Christian.
Christian.
Hey guys.
How you doing tonight?
Arcadia right here.
Thank you for coming on, man.
Arcadia.
We should have just put like a little subtitle underneath. It said Arcadia Playing Cards.
Arcadia.
I think that's one of the funny things about the community is, you know, people who are diehards definitely know the name of the designers, but I think a lot of people coming into the community fresh may know Arcadia Playing Cards, but they wouldn't know who the face or the name behind it is. And we see that like so often with a lot of these up and coming, you know, deck brands.
Well, it's true. But in my case, I haven't shown my face until now, basically.
Well,
dude,
so I don't blame people.
We are quickly becoming the coming out party for all these first time face showing.
You know what?
It's true.
It's a good honor to have. We're actually very honored you decided to come on a live show for the first time on our show.
Yeah, thanks. It's an honor to be here.
Awesome. So now, where are you located? Because it's pretty late there for you, yeah?
Yeah, it's 2 a.m. at the moment. So I live in Oslo, in Norway.
Very cool.
In the north.
Nice.
And yeah, moved here this year actually from England. So it's
right on.
Good to be back in home country.
Nice. Cool. Do you like it better or?
Yeah, I think so. It's home.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right on.
I think so.
How long were you in England?
To UK, but 5 years. So I studied 3 years and then worked for 2. So.
All right. So yeah, definitely a nice homecoming then. Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely I'm sure it's a different like change of like lifestyle as well. I'm sure it's a lot more I don't want to say relaxed, but probably a little more comfortable in general for you being somewhere that you're familiar with versus, you know, even 5 years, it's still somewhat not home, you know?
Yeah. And also Oslo is quite small. It's a small city compared to London, which is chaos everywhere. And it's kind of nice. I was dreading that part because I was afraid to not have stuff to do.
Right.
In a small place like in Oslo, but it's been all right.
You made it work? You made it work,
yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. Well, I'm just inside designing every day anyway, so.
There you go. And so now, so how has the whole pandemic kind of impacted you? Obviously, you know, like you said, you're inside designing every day. Have things really changed much for you, or does it feel like just another day here?
It feels like any other day, to be honest. Norway has been it's been not as bad here.
Yeah.
Okay. It's been bad, but I think that's like 800 people affected.
Oh, wow. That's really
not
a lot. Yeah.
So we say everyone freaks out and like, oh, we have to keep it down or stay away from people. But to be honest, it's not that bad here. compared to other countries, of course. I mean, it is an epidemic. But I mean, compared to UK, and I don't know how America is.
Oh God,
America's pretty bad. I mean, it depends state by state. There's obviously different variations. You know, in Midwestern areas where you don't have as much population in smaller spaces, it's not as bad, or it's taking a lot longer to get there. But like in major metropolitan areas like New York, it's
New York is crazy.
Yeah, it's been pretty rough. So, but
New York.
But but I don't mind being inside working. I enjoy it. It's an excuse.
Yeah,
it's good
now,
though. Yeah.
How long now? I mean, I've been a fan of yours ever since the Pride of Peacock. There's no D in Peacock. The Pride of Peacock deck.
Just say pop.
Yeah. Now, how long does it typically take you to design a deck?
That's a good question. Because the Peacock deck was the first one I did, and I was then learning to do graphic design. I was quite early.
You were literally that was like literally learning how to do graphic design. Was that deck?
Basically, I've done some things before, but I basically learned through doing that deck.
That's awesome.
And then and that took ages, of course. And then
how long did that take?
I can't remember. Almost a year.
Almost a year.
I started it. Yeah.
That's not bad.
But I thought I finished it, and I put it on Kickstarter and didn't fund. And then I did like standard chords. I had to go back and do custom chords. So it took a while.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's taken a few months for each deck, but now the last one I did, I mean, I'm almost done with it. It took me like a month, and then.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy. A month?
It depends on the idea or the concept.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm sure the free time and how motivated you are, how invested you are in it. To, you know, if you're excited about it, you probably work more. Not so much that you work harder on it, but that you work more on it.
Yeah, and if you have like a clear idea what you want to do, you just spit it out, and
nice.
Before you know it, you have something. Yeah.
No, that's awesome though. And I think you know, like Steve said, he's been a big fan of yours since Pride of Peacock. And I don't even know when I stumbled across your decks for the first time. I think it was
Conjurer,
before,
maybe?
I think it was after Conjurer, but it was before this last campaign. And I think I had seen Conjurer floating around. And then Steve and I had been talking about Peacock decks because I enjoy peacocks. I think they're awesome looking birds. And so we're talking about it. And he's like, oh, we were looking at another Peacock deck. And he's like, oh, no, you have to see this one. And then he showed me your deck. And I was like, oh, yeah, no, that's definitely the nicest Peacock deck out there right now. So
yeah,
thank you.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're not taking anything away from is it Susanna Thompson? Is that who did the other one?
Yeah.
Yeah, not taking anything away from that, but yeah, definitely the product.
Susanna or Roxanne?
Roxanne. I think it's Roxanne Thompson. Yeah.
Yeah. So
but there is that. What is it called? King of Jewels. There's like an Indian theme deck.
Oh,
I've just
really?
seen it on Pinterest quite a lot of times. It's not a peacock. It's not a peacock deck, but it has peacocks.
Oh, cool.
I think it's quite cool.
I'll have to check it. I'll have to send it to me. If you find it.
If I find it.
if you even look for it.
It's just one of those decks that always show up on Pinterest.
Oh, yeah.
So
that's funny.
I've seen it a
Cool.
lot. Yeah.
So now what originally got you into the idea of wanting to design your own deck? Like you said, you know, your first experience designing a deck was also your learning experience of graphic design. But what really prompted you to be like, hey, I want to go out and create this deck of cards?
So when I finished studying entrepreneurship, I felt like I had to start something. So, and I did like many things, like insect snacks. I did like snack bar, cold brew coffee, tried everything. And for all of those projects, I tried to do like the label myself. So that's how I got into graphic design. Okay. And then one day I just came over this Kickstarter mania. And
was it a specific deck?
Can't remember. Maybe the mints.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Probably. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
that'll make anybody start designing.
Yeah, I know. But I've done Magic since I was a small kid, and so I had some knowledge about playing cards. So
oh wow,
Nice.
I just, why not?
Things
And
I haven't known about Christian. I never knew that.
Yeah. But the thing is, like, the things I saw on Kickstarter was like, I can do that. It's not that complicated. But,
That's funny.
And so since you first started like getting into Kickstarter, how have you seen it really kind of change since then? I'm sure like the shift in new designs coming out. I think a lot more new designs are coming out in general, but how have you seen the landscape of Kickstarter itself change? Do you find it more challenging to get a deck funded now? Do you find it, people, are more willing to back decks or less willing or what?
I mean, I don't know. I've just done 3 projects, so it's not that many.
Okay.
But I feel like it's getting more and more difficult. I mean, obviously, there's like 10 times as many decks coming out on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Now as like 2 years ago. So of course you have to compete about the customers much more now.
Yeah, understandable.
So I'm actually quite nervous on how it's gonna be in a year or 2. If people stop backing campaigns or, but we'll see.
I think so. I think the one thing that always stick is the traditional decks. I think depending on what your focus is, if you're gonna put out a deck for Magic, it has to be traditionally for Magic. There's a lot of decks that come out and up in the top it will say, and Tyler and I talk about this all the time. Geared towards Magic, cardistry, and poker. And then you look at the cards and it has a J, a Q, and a K on it. And it's like, first of all, that's not for poker because you can barely read the J, Q, and the K. Second of all, no magician's going to use that because what is it?
Yeah.
So I think it's staying focused and putting out a deck that it's intended, for whatever group it may be intended for,
Yeah, I agree. Like the first projects I did, like the Peacock and the Conjurer, I thought to myself, like, who is this for?
Right.
Thought, it's for magicians. But wait a minute, it's for collectors as well. Oh, it's for poker as well. So you think that you have to go, you think you get more customers or backers by saying it's for everything, but you have to focus on one thing. That's what I'm doing with my next campaign. I'm just doing for magicians.
Yeah, which I mean,
it'll work.
You just kind of shared it a few weeks ago, like the back design, right?
Yeah.
It's what's it called?
It's called the Harmony Back.
Harmony Back. That's cool.
So this is the box, the prototype.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
Very shiny. So I'm trying to keep it quite simple. No fancy foil or something.
Nice.
So it's like the logo of the Arcadia brand.
Yeah,
it's
very
a
cool.
Greek instrument called a lyra. How do you pronounce it? So it's for magicians. It's my first marked deck that I made.
Oh, cool! It's marked.
Very nice.
So I don't know if I'm gonna reveal the markings like now or if I'm gonna wait with it. What's normal?
So I have to say, I think there's 2 ways you can do that, and it depends on how, you can reveal that it's marked and show the marking system on the Kickstarter, but I think the more fun way to do it, or at least the more enticing way to do it, is like what Andre did with the butterfly deck, where you reveal it's marked, you don't reveal the marking system, and then if you back it as part of their backing, you get a PDF that explains the marking system to it, which I think is really like a good way to do it, because ultimately, like, you want to reward the backer. I also think I like figuring out how a deck is marked or what the marking system is. I think it's a fun little puzzle. And obviously some decks are super complicated in their marking, like some of the Deland's Centennial decks, where it's not only is the deck marked for this card, but it also will tell you the next card and the previous card and all this stuff. And you're like, oh my God, this marking system is way too complicated for me to figure out on my own. But some simple ones where it's suit and suit and card. Those are always
Yeah.
fun to kind of figure out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not super complicated, so I think you'll get it.
Yeah.
And I think,
That'd be cool.
I think releasing it to the backers is probably the safest way to do it and the most rewarding way to do it. Yeah, there you go. Matt agrees. He says keep it under wraps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that, and then that's, it's, especially if it's something that you came up with, I think it's definitely cooler to share that with the backers. And I mean, eventually everything gets out anyway. Some yo-yo will put it on their deck and be like, we came up with this great idea. That's, we won't name any names, but we've seen that happen before.
So, and what was the experience like trying to design a marking system?
But that's the thing, like, when I started designing, I thought I'll never do a mark deck because I hate mark decks. I mean, it's cheating.
It's cheating. That's awesome.
But then when I designed the back on these, it just felt so natural to have the markings where they are.
Nice.
So I had quite a lot of fun doing it. But then every other project I've done after this, it's like, oh, where can I put a marking? It challenges your brain to like think. Yeah, it's a creative process to like incorporate it into the design and not make it that obvious. It's quite fun.
The cool thing is that you totally changed your mind. You were like, I'm not gonna do it. That's cheating. And then you end up doing it where it's like, it's cool. You brought, as you were creating, you kind of adjusted your opinion, and it's a tool. If some people can look at it as cheating, but I mean, what does that even mean, right? It's just a tool. I mean, I have several mock decks, but I don't really use the mocking system on most of them anyway.
That's the thing. And I'm thinking about doing the limited decks, not marked.
Oh, cool.
So yeah.
Nice.
Because I want to play poker with them, and I feel bad playing poker with a marked deck.
I mean, as long as it's not like too easy to determine the marking, and you just have to be honest about it, I guess.
Yeah,
but
just don't look. Just don't look in. Yeah.
Just don't hunt for it. Unless you're having a bad poker night and you're down a lot of money, then go ahead now.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, that's the whole point of poker, right? It's
we're changing deck now, guys.
This limited one is a little too fancy for tonight. Let's switch to the regular one. So,
but do you ever use mark decks, or do you do magic, or what's your story?
Steve performs magic to some extent.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy magic a lot. I practice magic. I'm not great at magic, but I'm a practitioner, I guess you can say. But I don't have the best eyesight. So a lot of mock decks.
That's the thing. Yeah.
A lot of mock decks are useless to me. The one deck that I can utilize very easily, and I don't have to like squint, I don't have to try too hard, is the Andre's Butterfly deck. The mocking system on it is amazing.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
And I don't like readers, because a lot of readers are obvious as hell, and it's just, I feel like that's cheating, even though it's not. It's just, I feel like if someone else saw it, they'd be like, oh, it says 9 of clubs on the card.
Yeah, you need like a clever reader, like like the Carbon deck.
That's
Nick.
Way too complicated for me. I couldn't. I knew people pointed out where the numbers were, and I still couldn't find it. It was way too complicated. I love you, Nick. Nick, you're my homie. I love your deck, but that mocking system was way too difficult for me.
I absolutely see. I like that one. I thought that was hilarious though too, because it almost is like the magic eye puzzles for Steve. Like no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't see it. But like I think it's interesting how I always love marked decks because of the way that people go about it. Like we've talked to some people who are, marked card experts, and they're like, yeah, there's really 2 or 3 overarching types of marked decks. But the way people build a marking system within those different branches is fascinating to me. Like the artistic ability you need to understand how to fit identifying marks at a small scale into something where it's not too small, but it's not too obvious. It's awesome. Like I love that.
Yeah, I think they're great. I mean, like Tyler said, it's really clever how people come up with these things. And again, if it's easy enough to read where I don't feel like I'm trying too hard to find it, then it would be perfect. It'd be something that is usable for me. But if something's marked and it's gonna take me a little too much, like lift the card, the pile up a little higher so I can see what I'm looking at, or then it's no point in using it.
If the trick depends on you reading the card, and they take it like this.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't see like
that. Right. Yeah.
So now, when you first designed your original deck of cards, was it something where you immediately were hooked, like, I can't wait to design the next one? Or was it like, were you kind of turned off a little bit by it and had to bring yourself back to the idea of designing a deck? I don't know. I feel like we've heard like horror stories of people who go through their first Kickstarter and then like eventually I think people come back to the table and want to design more, but like, was it a good experience for you initially?
Both yes and no.
Okay.
So when you design a deck and it takes ages, like you just want to get over it, like you just want to done. And I had that my first 2 decks, all of them actually. But I don't know, when you become better at designing, you do it much quicker, and it's just gets more fun, I think.
Okay.
So I always look forward to finishing a deck and then start a new one.
Very
because
cool.
the coolest thing is to come up with a concept. I think that's one of the most fun about this.
All right.
But at this moment, I'm at this point where I can't come up with any good concepts. So
you're like a songwriter. You're like a songwriter.
Yeah.
You gotta go out and look at the world differently after. What's the hardest deck you've created, or that you've worked on or created?
Can I say that?
I guess this is a good segue.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
Drum roll. Wait, your deck, Steve.
Well, everybody, there it is. Christian is working on my Visions deck. So he's the one that's designed all the court cards that you've been seeing. And I've kind of showed, I think I showed briefly the Ace of Spades on a live, but I don't think I've shown it in images yet, but we could share that.
Oh man, should I show it now? Okay.
Yeah, show it. Wake up, Tyler.
I'm awake.
So this is the Ace of Spades. As you can see down the bottom, designed by Arcadia. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Cool. Thank you.
Well, this will be metallic inks. Yeah. Can't see it.
It's just gonna be sick though.
It's all right, you can pull it now. It's interesting. It's at the same time it's being the hardest one that you've designed because obviously it's someone else's vision, I guess you could say, no pun intended, but someone else's idea, and it's just different than your style, or kind of all of the above. I'm a pain in the ass, or what?
Everything. No. Well, it's kind of out of my comfort zone with the court cards, at least, or the jokers especially, because I've never done landscapes. And and also when you design for someone, you can't just like leave it like, I'm happy with this, let's move on.
Right.
So it's the first time I have someone telling me what they want.
Right.
Very cool.
It's definitely something to. Just go ahead.
Yeah. No, it's just more time consuming.
Yeah.
I guess, especially you being in America and being here, and we're never in the same
time zone. I know. It's so funny because I'll message Christian, right, and I'll be like, oh, can you change this, or how about this, or whatever, and then I'll go to bed, and stupid me will wake up at like 3:30, 4 in the morning to go to the bathroom or something, and I'll get a message from Christian, and I'll be in the bathroom looking at it half asleep, And in my head, I'm like, I have to respond so he can see it. Obviously I don't respond till I wake up. But I always think, is he going to see that I read it and didn't respond, and then think that I don't like it? So I had to.
Sleepy Steve worries too much.
I know. I had to tell him that I see it, but it's 3 a.m, so I'll respond when I wake up.
Yeah. But at the same time, like the tuck box and the backs on this deck, they were super easy to make because it made sense, if you know what I mean.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
And everything just came together quite easily.
Well, and it's funny because when Steve first mentioned to me that he's like, oh, I think I found a designer for this deck, like 2 days later, he's like, dude, check out this back design.
I know.
And I was like, man, that was really fast.
It was crazy. I literally, because, all right, I'll give the story. This is kind of a cool story. I don't know if many people know, but Christian actually was going through, I guess you can say, treatment.
Yeah.
He had cancer, right?
Yeah.
And did it start right? Not did cancer start, but did like your treatment start right after the signature deck, or when around did that start?
Yeah, at the same time ish. Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't know. Obviously, I was just like, oh, I loved the Peacock deck. I loved the Conjurer and obviously the signature deck. But I reached out to you and I was like, oh, I have a great, I would love for you to check out the deck and take a look at it and see what you think. Yeah. And you kind of were like going through this treatment. And it was kind of like right in the thick of it. And you're like, well, let me figure some stuff out. Let me get through this stuff and get back to you, Yeah. And I was like, cool. Or reach out to me in a little bit. I think you were moving, right? Was you moving at the same time?
Yeah. Well, that was a month before-ish. Yeah.
Yeah, but you had so much going on. And then I remember us connecting again and you saying, yeah, I'd love to. And then literally 2 days later, I had a back design. I was like, this guy's a savage.
That was awesome, though. And it's such a good-looking design, especially for anyone who had seen Steve's prototype and then to come to what this is now. For anyone who doesn't know what Steve's prototype looks like either, if you go take a look at like any of our full logo where it's the table with the cards on it and Steve's actually doing an anaconda with the prototype. So you don't have to show it.
There it is right there.
You have it.
Yeah, so... And it definitely has come a long way from that. I mean,
oh my God,
to even say it's come a long way is kind of like an understatement. It's basically like that design just went away and a whole new design
and this is why I highly recommend giving your stuff to designers.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. And we've had this discussion in the past, about the idea of designing a deck, and really the ideation phase is where if you're not a designer, you can be very good at it. You come up with the idea, you think about some of the specifics. But once you actually have to put pen to paper, that's where you stop. That's where you go find someone who's a professional, because ultimately they're going to be able to take that idea you've built and really bring it to the next level.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or find a pirate copy of Illustrator and start learning.
There you go.
That's so good. Now,
Deckin Around in no way condones the piracy of software.
I didn't say that.
Do what you got to do, people. So my question is, how was that process, going through treatment? Obviously having to do that is, I'm sure, very taxing, not only on the body, but on the mind. And, did you have any issues of, mental health, and did designing help you with that? Or how did that whole process work?
I mean, when I was going through treatment, I didn't have anything else to do at home.
Yeah.
And it was Corona as well, so I couldn't get infected.
You're high risk at that point, yeah.
Yeah. So I was just at home and I was designing. So it kind of helped me, to have something going on all the time. But if it wasn't designing, it would be something else.
Right. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I did something I loved doing
Mm.
while I was going through treatment. So I guess it helped me, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't know
Right.
how
Right.
I would be without it.
Yeah. No, that's a good point.
I got shit done though. So
That's good.
Not
though.
only did you get shit done, like, dude, you worked on 2 decks. You've been working on my deck. We probably what 5 months now.
It's been a
and
bit,
for those who don't know how long it takes to work on a deck, like Christian's fast, and we've been working about 5 months. But he also finished his other deck, the one that's going to be released, the Harmony back. So literally 2 decks at once. So super quick designer and a fighter for sure. So
well, and I think it's interesting to see too, like where artistic and creative people usually do work on multiple projects at any given point in time, because like if you get stuck on one project, you don't just sit there and spin your wheels on it. You go try something else in order to like get you past that hump.
You have to have something else.
Yeah.
Like you have to have, if not several projects, something else to do, because you can't design for many hours.
I'm so thankful. I'm thankful you had that other project, because in my head, if you didn't, I would have heard a knock on my door and I would open the door and be like, "Oh, hey, Christian," you would have been like,
yeah, so, but it's easy to hit that wall. Like today, I was designing, like I didn't take a break for many hours. And it's like, suddenly you just, whoa, what am I doing? It's 8 o'clock.
That's too funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens. That whole back and forth phase though is fun. You know, going back and forth when you're designing something and you, I guess, send it over and I'm like, what's this? Or, we've had some fun laughs in the process. I think that's the cool part about working with someone, and Tyler and I, we butt heads sometimes, but it's really cool to laugh about the stupidest things that
usually on a Sunday night when it's late and we've been recording for hours, Steve and I definitely get delirious.
Bloopers coming soon, that's for sure.
And we keep record of all of the delirium so that we can share it all with you eventually. So keep an eye out January 2021 for a 2020 bloopers reel.
Yeah, it'll be fun. That's for sure.
It should be interesting. So
cool. Good. It's good knowing that I was the most difficult deck you're working on. Hopefully one of your decks kind of takes the lead in that one next time. We're almost done. We're getting there.
Yeah, well, I've come up with a concept of like a collector's deck series.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'm gonna do it or not, because it will just be so much work. But I think I'll do it.
Do it. If you have the idea, do it.
Would you do like one release with all the decks, or would you do like multiple releases?
One release for each one. Like basically like the Planet series.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
That's a great way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
kind of like TCC.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing is that it's not an original concept, because it's based on Greek mythology and it's been done so many times. But I always wanted to do it. But because it's been done, I should do it.
You know what though? I think you have so many options. You can go in so many different directions.
Yeah. But the thing is, like, I looked at the gods in Mount Olympus, and I read about that, and it's 12 gods. So I thought, 12, that's a brick.
Oh my gosh. A true playing card enthusiast. You equate 12 to playing cards
12
instead of anything else. Yeah. That is too funny.
Yeah.
No, it'll work, man. It'll definitely work. I think it'd be cool. And let's be honest, a lot of people come out with the same topic of decks, but as long as they look totally different, it is what it is. How many mermaid decks and how many bee decks and how many skull decks are out there?
Yeah,
a lot.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
So you just have to make it look different, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
but some themes are done more than others.
Yeah, that's for sure.
We'll see. Nothing
and I think Well, your style too is so unique in comparison to a lot of the other decks that are out there. So even being able to put your own touch on it makes it uniquely yours. And I think the story you tell behind it's always interesting too, because obviously everyone knows this, not everyone, but a large majority of people understand the stories behind Greek mythology. But the motivation of how it impacted you to create the deck is really the story that I think differentiates for each individual. You know, some people fell in love with Greek mythology when they were 6 years old and they've always wanted to do something artistic with it. And so that's why they designed a deck of Greek mythology cards. Or, you know, could have been that you were going to Athens and you fell in love with the architecture and that did it. Like, I think there's so many different motivations which come through in the final product that make it such a cool thing to see how different people approach the same topic in decks.
Right. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. In worst case, you can always slap bicycle on it and it'll fund. So that's fine.
No, that's something I'll never do.
True.
No.
Hey, speaking of that, hey, Christian.
Yeah.
He's going to kill me. Speaking of that, hey, Christian, for the tuck box, can you just put bicycle across the top?
Yeah. Sure.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh,
that would be something. I think is there a Bicycle Visions deck already? I'm sure there is. There's a Bicycle Everything
someone just came out with a deck called Vision. Did you see it?
Yeah.
I did, yeah. That 2020 Vision deck?
Well, no, it's called Vision.
Oh, it's just called Vision? I feel like Vision and Visions are popular words this year for decks.
Yeah, but there's only, I think, I don't know if it's on Kickstarter yet or what, but Christian sent it to me and he's like, yo, have you seen this? I was like, yeah, it has nothing to do with my deck.
I mean, it happens. And I think that's, we've seen that a lot, though, in the community. I think, you're limited to some extent on what you're going to call a deck of cards without just coming up with ridiculously long or, out there kind of names. And so really being able to push past it is the key there.
I'm gonna come out with a crazy name just so I can hear Tyler say it when we do the Kickstarter recap.
That's perfectly fine. I've gotten over my fear of not knowing how to pronounce things at this point, so I don't even care. Like, I'll butcher it. Steve chuckles to himself, and we just keep rolling at this point.
I love it. I don't chuckle to myself anymore. I chuckle out loud.
Yeah. So it's always interesting.
It happens because so many decks come out. It has happened to me so many times. Like the Flamingo deck on Kickstarter now. Yeah. I was literally just working with the Flamingo deck and oh, this looks cool. And then I go on Kickstarter and just, yay.
Yeah.
And also like when Jackson, King's Wild, came up with the Labyrinth deck, I was working, because that's the first time I tried to do like a Greek mythology thing. And I tried to do like based on the stories around mythological creatures. So I did the Minotaur. And because the Minotaur is in a labyrinth, I thought, wow, it'd be cool to have like a labyrinth on the back. And then like 1 week later, that deck drops in this. Oh, come on.
That sucks.
That is too funny.
Yeah, that's how it happens. I mean, it's happened, many times recently. We see it happen all the time, right?
We really do. I think, what, though, as much as it's probably like a bit of a downer when it happens, I think the best way to take it is a successful deck came out with an idea that you had, so you're definitely thinking in the right direction, Like,
you're a successul thinker there, buddy. I don't know what Flamingo deck's doing, but you got one for two.
Yeah, 1 for 2. You're 50% successful.
Yeah.
But, I think, and that's the other thing, though, too. Like, even when you do see another campaign that's similar and it isn't successful, maybe it gives you ideas as to where your deck can be better, or where your deck may, avoid some of the pitfalls that they went through. And I think that's one of the things that always gets me about Kickstarter is, there's not necessarily a formulaic approach to Kickstarter, but there are definitely overarching subjects that you need to pay attention to and make sure that you don't do them wrong in order for your deck to have a chance to fund. And the amount of people who glaringly overlook those big points like shipping or information or pictures. Even blows my mind all the time. And I'm like, how are you going to sell us something that's effectively art with 0 pictures?
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see how that goes. But I think it's always helpful to see how something else potentially funds or doesn't fund in that sense. So
yeah,
and it's weird to see like some projects on Kickstarter. You don't understand how they got so much funding.
yeah,
I see it all the time.
Yeah, and I'm trying to get my head around how to do a Kickstarter in the best possible way, like because there's so many marketing businesses based on Kickstarter marketing, and
yeah.
99% of them don't work.
Yeah,
But you don't know until you try them, right?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, surprisingly, we've seen several decks that we were surprised funded, but we have to remember that it's very easy to self-fund a deck. It's very easy for someone
to drop in a couple $100 to get it over the line there.
So just drop in a couple $1,000s. We've seen it. Not even just a couple hundred. We've seen people dropping a couple $1,000s to fund their deck.
So there was actually a deck not too long ago. I'm not going to name names, but basically within the first 12 hours, the creator fully funded the deck himself in order to get it on the trending or hot project page for Kickstarter. And then once he got a significant amount above, he then incrementally lowered his own pledge until it basically was even. And it was, while clever, it's also, it was absolutely noticeable. It was a deck where it's like funded in 6 hours. And I'm like, there's no way that this deck could have funded in 6 hours, because it was a first-time creator, and B, it wasn't really that awesome or unique of a deck. It wasn't a bad deck, and I will never knock a deck of playing cards because people always have different tastes there. But to me, that's somewhat of a deceptive practice. But I think also Kickstarter almost promotes it because they don't care. They want more projects to get funded because that means they make money.
Yeah, it's true.
So,
I mean, you're not technically allowed to do it, but there are ways around it.
Yeah.
You're technically not allowed to smoke weed in a lot of states either, but, let's see how that goes.
I mean, I think, Kickstarter, there are glaring holes in the rules that Kickstarter decides what to enforce and what not to enforce. I mean, we see creators all the time with 4 campaigns out that haven't been fulfilled yet, and a 5th one on the docket getting funded. And I think, while I don't think that should be something any creator does, at least some of the creators that do it have a reputation that they are upholding and that they actually do fulfill decks. But like some of these new creators come out and they're like, hey, my last deck funded 3 weeks ago. Deck number 2 is up on Kickstarter. And you're like, I don't know you. You're using an unknown printer. Your deck could be absolute trash. Like, there's no way your second deck is going to fund because people haven't had a chance to absorb or reflect on your first deck. It's like, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. I mean, Riffle Shuffle do it all the time, right? But we know that they do fulfill, and they're good.
I mean,
I don't mind people doing that, but
right,
they
also probably the fastest fulfillment in the business for sure, hands down. Because some of their, and you're not supposed to do this on Kickstarter either, which I don't know why, but sometimes their stuff is already in the pipeline for printing. And they do their Kickstarter, it's going to get printed anyway. Yeah. So they do their Kickstarter. That way it gets, fulfilled pretty quickly.
That's true. Yeah.
So their turnaround time is so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, and credits to them, like Kevin at Riffle Shuffle, he helped me with a lot of decks or printing the decks. So
he's an absolute genius.
Yeah.
I mean, and Steve and I say it every time we look at a Kickstarter campaign from them, like we run through them really quick because usually there's nothing out of the ordinary there. But ultimately, like anyone who's looking to create a Kickstarter campaign, you can't go wrong by using them as a template. Like they know what they're doing. They know how to tell a story. Like so much.
The new one. The Devil deck looks awesome.
They really do a great job. And I like that they're trying a new printer with some of theirs now, that they're using TWPCC for these ones. I've found that the quality is nice, and I like to see that they're branching out from just USPCC there.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, they're
I didn't know
mostly
that,
collector's decks too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
That's what
I
they're
think,
looking for
yeah.
on some of those.
Yeah, where they can do foil and all that, a little probably more cost effective for them while still creating a deck that looks good and handles good if someone wants to use it.
Right.
But Stu actually brought up a good point in chat, and we actually completely forgot to bring this up with Christian ahead of time, but thankfully I know he probably has a deck of cards somewhere. So we have this tradition on the show that has now been going on for 24 episodes.
That's it? Wait, it has to be more than that.
Stu was episode 10. This is episode 34. So for 24 episodes, we have this tradition going where Stu is known in the community for being able to, he likes to sniff decks of cards, which I think all of us secretly will do it, but Stu is very open about it. He'll sniff a deck of cards. Yeah.
Okay.
So what we do ever since Stu was on the show is we have our guests take a new deck of cards, open it, and sniff it and kind of give us their impressions of the deck of cards, kind of like a wine tasting, but for your nose with cards. So do you have an available deck of cards?
Do I have to? I think I'm going to break that tradition. I'm not at home.
Oh, man.
Well, I'm at my girlfriend's place.
But you have your prototype, so you can do it.
I have my prototypes, but they're not fresh.
That's okay.
Yeah, give it a sniff then. That's perfect. Well, so here's my question then for that one. Who printed your prototype? Because this might be a first for a printer on it.
Well, it's MPCC. MPCC, yeah.
MPC.
Make playing cards. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think we've ever had a make playing card deck sniffed on the show.
Oh, really?
So yeah. So here's a first. Hopefully it smells good, but I'm sure it probably doesn't.
Do the green one. It's actually lost its scent.
That's probably for the best. They're pretty pungent out of the box.
Tastes like or smells like old glue.
Nice.
Oh man. So and I think it's interesting too because I
think it's been in an oak barrel.
Oh, there you go.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's always interesting to see the sense that you get off of it because I think some of the decks, especially ones you get familiar with, you start to pick up different underlying smells that you didn't smell in the past, or you start to make associations.
It is glue though. You're sniffing glue.
It's ultimately glue, but it's funny because I think that I don't know, the more I smell like USPCC, the more I'm comfortable with it, but also I pick up hints of other stuff sometimes and I'm like, oh, interesting. Am I imagining it or yeah.
What's your favorite smelling deck?
For me, none of them. I think they all smell terrible, but
they do.
But if I really had to pick one, it's probably USPCC just because they're the least harsh, we'll say, because they use more
sustainable
stuff. Renewable or whatever, water soluble glues and everything. So
I think USPCC for sure. Their stuff smells better than anybody else's.
Nah. There you go. Stu says, great job, 5 stars. So your first deck sniff live on show, and you got 5 stars. You crushed it.
Nice.
But yeah, I think and the reason we decided to carry on the tradition is because Stu was able to actually blindfolded sniff 3 different decks of cards and identify the manufacturers.
Seriously?
Yeah, no joke.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, no, it was.
The next challenge is to sniff what deck it is.
If we
had a diner.
That'd be hilarious.
I would be thoroughly impressed with that one, but I wouldn't put it past Stu to be able to do it too. That's the thing. He'd be like, oh, based on the dissipation of the scent, I know I opened this 3 months ago, and 3 months ago I got this deck. So be very deductive reasoning there.
Yeah, right.
I'd love to see it, but so aside from, and you mentioned it earlier, Christian, aside from designing the deck, when you do get frustrated, you need something else to do. What other kind of hobbies are you into other than playing cards?
Well, a lot of stuff, to be honest. I play some chess.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
And some guitar in my bedroom alone. Not on this show. As you asked me to do.
We did ask.
We tried, everybody. We tried.
Yeah. And this summer I moved in with my best friend in Oslo. And
Nice.
There are so many ping pong tables around in the city. So there's been every day it's been designing and then break ping pong and then back.
Oh, cool.
So yeah,
Interesting.
that's
All
it.
right.
Yeah,
That's
working
cool.
out a bit.
So are you good at ping pong, or are you still trying to figure it out, or
I wasn't good, but now
getting
Yeah.
better? All right.
no, I like to think I'm good, but I might suck. I don't know.
I guess everybody's good depending
I
on
had
who
the
they're playing
same
against.
opponent every day this summer.
Yeah, it
I have to play
depends. It
someone else.
depends on who you're playing.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
that-
otherwise it's mostly designing.
All right.
Yeah,
I think
cool.
that's no, that's definitely like obviously you're passionate about it though.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, what? I have a question. Who are some of your favorite designers? Like, give us, your 3 favorite designers, and what's your favorite
Playing
deck
card
that you've seen?
designers or
Yeah, playing card.
so I was thinking about this earlier. Like they're gonna ask me what my favorite deck is, right? And
Cheater.
the thing is,
That's
I'm not
cheating.
really.
My
Yeah.
deck isn't cheating. You're cheating.
The thing is, I don't really collect decks.
Mhm.
I think if I would have collected decks and designed decks, I would go overload with playing cards.
Yeah.
So it's one or the other. But there's one deck that hasn't been made yet from New Garden Society. Do you know that? It's Vidak. What's his name? The guy who did the Devil deck and the Planets deck.
Wadak?
Widak. I don't know how to say it. Sorry. But I think he works with this design studio. I don't know. Yeah. But they made this nature deck where all the core cards are like, a bear or stag or something. But
Interesting.
the last post I seen about it was like a year ago, and it said it's in production. And I think I contacted them and asked when it's going to be made. And they said, we don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it or anything. But other than that, I like the Drifters deck from our play. I don't know why. I just love the tuck box.
Yeah.
And I like when the court cards are traditional but custom, like just modified enough to be cool but still traditional.
Yeah.
And yeah, the Pops deck from King's Wild.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I like that tuck. I think I'm into tuck boxes basically.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I just love that tuck box. So that's the ones I can. And of course, a bicycle, a rider's back.
So now, have you ever considered designing something other than cards? Like, I feel like one of the areas that I think, to me, is always very reminiscent of the artwork you see on playing cards is also like liquor bottle labels. I think okay.
Like you asked me about my favorite designer. I think Chad Michael is up there.
Okay.
Nice.
Who did what's the name of it? The last deck he did. The poker thing deck. Yeah. But he designs.
What was the last deck that Chad did?
Oh my god. It came with like a poker set.
Oh, Iron Spades.
Iron Spades.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So he designs spirit labels, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's where I get most of my inspiration from spirits.
I mean, understandable. I think
Yes,
I always love seeing the labels they design for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think in the graphic design world, we have spirit labels, then you have playing cards of like the coolest designs.
Yeah. Spirit labels are tough. My friend designs for a winery here in Napa, and stuff that they create are pretty dope.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't tried doing it. I've tried other things like logos. And,
okay.
Yeah. Labels for food products.
Nice.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to do a spirit label once.
Nice. You should do it.
Maybe
Maybe
just
spirit label deck.
Maybe just a mock. Yeah. Yeah.
There you go, dude. You do you follow Kevin Cantrell as well?
Yeah. His stuff are awesome.
Yeah.
Dude's legit.
Absolutely. No, he really
So
is.
legit. He is so good.
Yeah. And also Peter Watt or something. Watt.
Hmm.
No.
What has he done? Is he like spirit labels or?
No. Bibles, I think. He does a lot of Bibles. Yeah.
Oh,
and that's another thing. Like, I find inspiration in spirit labels and then old, like antique books.
Hmm.
I think that's super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
But I
What'd you
mean,
think?
there's so many designers, like graphic designers, that just somehow they get into playing card work.
Yeah, it's true, and it's the cool thing about different styles too. You know, you have your Lautrec, you have your Geo and Lorenzo, and you know they're all so different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's cool, kind of where they pull their inspiration from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think everyone finds inspiration in different things.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But I don't know. I haven't spoken to any other playing card designers.
So I think that actually
you have. Yeah.
I think that raises a good question though too. Are there any designers out there who you'd be interested in doing a collab with?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a secret though.
Okay. I mean, hey, that's fair enough.
Well, it's difficult to find someone who hasn't done a playing card project. But I reached out to Sam Larson.
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen him.
I haven't yet.
I asked him, like, have you seen or have you made a playing card or have done a playing card project before? He just, working on it. Great. But I don't know. Most of the designers I follow have done a playing card project already, so
right.
We'll see. For now, it's just me alone.
Me alone. You maybe we'll link up with another designer and create a deck with someone who maybe hasn't, or
If anyone out there want to do a collab, then hit me up. Well, someone approached me actually who did spirit labels. I can't remember his name, but we talked about doing something in the future.
Oh, cool. Just do it after Visions is over.
Oh yeah, definitely. 2 years after it's over.
Oh, shit. I didn't tell you. I haven't told you about V2 yet, have I? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my gosh, that would be too funny.
I mean, it's almost done, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
But everything is done. Just need to refine it.
Yeah, touch-ups. That's the fun part, right?
Yeah.
That's the fun part. Does anybody have any questions for Christian?
I feel like there's got to be a couple out there.
Yeah, for sure. There's got to be some.
We'll give it. We have a little bit of a lag between the chat and the video, so we'll give it a minute there to see what kind of questions we have. And I know we have a few people who are hardcore collectors in the audience this evening, aka Matt. So
I'm curious to hear what people think about Gathics.
So, and that's an interesting one too, because I think I always get a kick out of the fact that, like, even on collector-oriented cards, it seems that they always include like a double backer or a blank face or these traditional like gaff cards that in reality, the people, like the audience who they're building the deck for, probably will never use them. And there probably isn't as much of an appreciation for them. But I think it's interesting that they still do it instead of using the opportunity to maybe add more artwork in.
Yeah, or advertise.
Yeah. And I think,
and
I think I think there's definitely some creators who do utilize the opportunity to advertise. Like one that comes to mind is always like any Docs playing cards. Ones like the Latin Quarter, like they have the ad cards in there. And I think a lot of times you see it in like more casino style decks that aren't geared towards magicians, but it's not as much as I would expect it to be. Like they're called ad cards, but 9 times out of 10 they really end up being like gaff cards in there instead. But
it's true.
So we do it. Oh, good.
That's the thing I'm trying to do, or I'm going to do with my next project. is to. I haven't seen many people doing gaff decks on Kickstarter, like a whole deck.
Right.
Yeah.
Just like small packs. So with this next one, I'm going to do the whole gaff deck, like for the harmony bags.
Nice.
So, but I don't know how many people are into gaffs.
I mean, magic-wise, I think, you have a big enough interest. I know the Gentleman Wake did the Paolo deck. He had a gaff pack. Jerry's Nuggets had a gaff deck, but obviously
that's the one.
Totally different. But yeah, I mean, like you said, there's not very many people who have done it. You know who a good person to reach out to find out is Aaron Fisher or Lee Asha.
Absolutely.
Reach out to them. They're two people that will be perfect to help you in the direction of anything that has to do with gaff magic or anything in that direction. They're full of knowledge, and reach out to some of the big magicians in the community and see what gaff decks they use the most, and I mean gaff cards they use the most, and put a poll out there and see what people say. But I think Lee Asher and Aaron Fisher have connections to so many different magicians, and they've been around for a long time that they'd be able to give you any type of insight you need.
Yeah. Well, I hope people want gaff decks.
Yeah. I think either way, you would definitely get people who would enjoy the gaff cards. So, because I think it's also an opportunity to create more art there, even if it's not necessarily an ad card, to see what gaffs you go with, whether it be, like a modified court card or something along those lines. It's just an opportunity to still flex some of the artistic talent there and the visuals, which I think is always fun. But
yeah, I'm missing some gaff cards, so I would like some input.
There you go.
Yeah. If there are any gaff cards you want to see, then
and I think
I might include them.
Like Steve said, Aaron and Lee are really good with that. With the deck that Aaron just put out with the Conjurer community, they really thought about gaff cards that are more than just single-use cards. They really put a lot of thought into what kind of gaff cards you could use across a multitude of tricks. And I think that's one of the things that you really like. If you want to actually have usable gaff cards, you need to think about how they can be used versus like a double backer or something, or a color change, something like that. There's only a handful of really use cases for those, but there are gaff cards out there that you could use across a wide variety of, routines.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I hate when you have a gaff card and like, the audience can see like this is a card where bought from a magic shop. Like if it's a king with a skull face, like I mean, there's nothing special about this. It's a gimmick. You can see it's a gimmick.
Yeah,
it's cooler when people don't know you're using gaff cards.
Yeah.
That's a tricky part. I found out to like come up with some subtle gaff cards.
Yeah.
Well, you know what else you could do is you can purchase a couple of gaff packs, see what other people have done. I know Alex did a gaff deck for his V3S, the Knock.
Yeah. Stu said Mint did a gaff pack as well.
Yeah.
And Stu actually had a pretty good question about design here too, which I'm going to pull up real quick.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you draw, inspiration from spirit labels as well, but do you draw any inspiration from typography, and do you create your own fonts or use templates and then tweak it?
I think typography is the thing I'm worst at. I can't make custom fonts. Like I have to admit. It's tricky to find the correct font. Like you can spend hours on that, but when you find it, I just buy it and use it and tweak it to the design.
Nice
cards.
And I think that's
I don't.
Yeah. That's good that you're aware of your limitations there, though. Is it something that eventually you kind of want to figure out how to design your own fonts?
I'm never gonna go into that. No, I don't think so. I mean, you have people specializing in typography, and why not just use what they do?
Yeah,
just support them and just get something good.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I see the use of knowing to do it, but it just takes too much time.
Dude, I can't. I can imagine. And like you said, there are people who focus solely on that, and that's probably one of those areas where you do leave it to the experts.
Yeah,
it's like me with landscape photography. People are like, "Do you take pictures of like the sunset and all that?" I'm like, "Hell no, I don't give a fuck. I'll just let the landscape photographers do that. It takes too much time. I don't want to deal with that."
Yeah, and it's complicated. It's not an easy thing.
Yeah. So
it's definitely like a process that you have to know the ins and outs. There's certain fonts you can use for certain things. There's so much involved in it, and I have no idea about fonts either. If I look at something that doesn't look right, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. But for the most part, I don't know anything about fonts.
I just know that I like some and I don't like others. That's about the extent of it. But again, that's why I try not to judge on creative merit, because my creative merit is very minimal. And some fonts look nice, others don't look nice to me, but they probably look nice to somebody.
Yeah.
No?
And if you use a popular font, then suddenly a new project on Kickstarter has the same font as your deck. Just, no.
Yeah. And it's funny though too, because I think at the same time, people don't necessarily make that connection as often as they probably could. I think people look past font to some extent, unless it's like very, very in your face, similar to something else. Like I think if someone was sitting there drinking a latte from Starbucks and they're looking at a Kickstarter with a deck that's using Starbucks font, they're going to be like, wait a second. But otherwise, like if you don't have that comparison point there, like, I mean, maybe it's just me, but I couldn't tell you if two decks had the same font right now.
Yeah. Or if you see a product with a Fontaine font, that looks familiar.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's pretty obvious, right?
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, someone posted a picture of a shop they were passing by or something. The Fontaine font. Like, oh.
Really?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
That is too funny.
That's like anybody who does like an Indian inspired deck. They always use that same Sanskrit type font.
Yeah.
And I'm like, come on, can't you be any more original?
And in reality, though, too, the Fontaine font is really just like a basic like calligraphy font. Like it's nothing crazy. That's probably how at some point in time people wrote, just because with like a fountain tip pen or something. It's not something really out there or outlandish in the scheme of like design.
Yeah.
So cool.
It's definitely a skill, that's for sure.
See,
I mean, that's the thing with like most spirit labels. They always have like beautiful fonts.
Yeah, you need to step up your game, bro, if you're gonna do spirit labels.
Yeah, that has to be custom.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna let you.
There's a really good website called Fiverr. That's where you reach out to them and be like, "Can you create a font for me?"
Definitely not going to be getting any spirit label jobs using Times New Roman.
Comic Sans.
Yeah. That would be interesting to see nonetheless. But actually, and Stu did say typeface is a very important aspect for me with cards. And I agree on that. On an individual level, like typeface can definitely make or break the aesthetic of a deck. But
of course.
I literally could not tell you two decks that use the same font other than like bicycle decks in the bicycle font. So that's about the extent of like, for me, the visual aspect of it. But I hands down agree. I think that's one of the things that people don't realize is there's so much that goes into designing a deck of cards. And I mean, I'm sure, again, you're more aware of it than Steve and I, and Steve's even probably starting to get a cursory glance into it. But things like font, color, size, all this stuff plays such a huge part.
Yeah, I mean, it's a skill to choose the right font.
Yeah.
There's so many out there. How do you choose?
Well, and
so you go like, I've been for hours just like next, and just trying different things, and like the way you display them, it's still difficult.
Yeah. But that's good though. I mean, if you were able to just knock them out in no time, it probably wouldn't be as fun as it is for you. And well, I'm sure it's also frustrating. It's still a growth opportunity, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So other than the harmony and the potential Greek mythology series? Are we expecting to see a lot more decks from Arcadia Playing Cards in the future?
Yeah, of course.
Good.
So the only thing that's ups me is production time.
Understandable.
Yeah, which is
especially the last month, it's been chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah, because your signature deck's ready to go, right?
I got a message today, actually, that
Nice.
they've been sent out.
Nice.
And that backers will receive the shipping email, the tracking email within 48 hours.
Oh, wow.
So I'm going to do an update on that project once I can confirm this.
Nice.
Let's just read it in an email.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I'll let you know when I get my tracking number. I'll let you know when I get mine.
Yeah. So hopefully they will be out to backers now.
That's a good question.
Yeah. I feel like Stu's over here like taking notes on how to design a deck of cards, and I'm enjoying it.
I know, right? He's brewing. He's got something brewing here.
How's your approach with color palette for a deck? Is it mainly influenced by the theme, or is it sometimes vice versa?
Oh, wow, that's a good question, actually. Yeah, it depends on the project. It's difficult. Like, I've been designing, like using one set of colors or like one color, and like been designing for days with that color, and then just like, how does it look like in a different color? And then, oh, that looks better. So it's just like one thing. Like you have to try different colors, and you go colorblind while doing it. But I have like a Pantone fan with me, and I go through them. I find colors I like.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's no right or wrong. You just, if there's a color you want to use, then you might create a design based on that color. That hasn't happened for me yet, but yeah. But with the Harmony backs, like these are just CMYK printed, but I try to find like a vintage looking color.
Yeah.
So then I had to go through all the 1,000 of colors in this. And especially when you see it like on Pantone fan. Pantone?
Yeah.
Pantone?
Yeah.
Like it's a square. Like you don't know how it's going to look like on a box.
Yeah.
Right.
On the cards. So, and it's tricky. And like when you design a deck and then you get it and then you think, is this the color I used? So,
right.
Yeah, it's challenging, but you get used to dealing with colors, I hope.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, especially when
I don't have a good answer to this.
I don't think anybody does. I mean, the people that we've talked to pretty much have the same answer, and
it's situationally dependent. It all depends on the situation.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, you might compare it to a bicycle deck, like a classical rider's back, and you think, well, that color works. Should I do that, or should I do something completely new?
Yeah,
which you don't know how it looks like until you get it. So.
Right. And I think it's funny because as much as I think a lot of people knock the colors for rider backs being red and blue, there's probably a logical reason behind those colors versus any other color for standard decks. Like they could have. It's not like they were forced to pick red and blue. It may be something as simple as 200 years ago or whenever 120 years ago, red and blue were the cheapest inks you can get. I don't know, but like I'm always curious as to what the logic behind that is. That's created this tradition of standard decks come in red and blue, whether they're bicycle or otherwise. I mean, think about like Copag 310s. Copag 310s come in red and blue. Even before Cardamundi bought USPCC, they came in red and blue. Why?
Tally ho.
Yeah, like many of these companies always. Yeah, but I mean, at some point in time, they probably were not USPCC, and they might have still been in the same color. It's always interesting. Like one day, hopefully, we can figure out the motivation behind that. Or if someone knows, feel free to drop it in the comments because I would love to be enlightened on that aspect. But like, it's creative. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting kind of aspect to cards that like I actually had never thought about until this moment just now. But like the color,
I think it's like with colors, like branding for food companies or Coke or stuff like that. There's like you want a color that looks appetizing, or you need to use color psychology in that way. Like need an organic looking color or something. But with cards, I mean, what are you aiming for?
Yeah.
Are they going to look appetizing or?
I mean, I think if you ask people, most people, like when you ask them what's your favorite color, I think I may be totally off and wrong on this, but I would think a lot of people is blue for sure.
Yeah.
And then I think it's green or red.
Yeah.
So I think I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but obviously, I think, I don't know.
So you know what?
What's
we're gonna
the
do
least
another
used color?
Yeah.
What's what?
Probably pinks.
What's the least
variations on pinks? Probably like salmons and things like that. Probably very pastel colors. But let's do a little social experiment here, though. Too. Everyone, feel free to comment either in the chat if you're watching live or in the comments below if you're watching the replay. What your favorite color is? I'm just curious to see, what kind of split we get there, because who knows? It could be that it's 50-50 red and blue with some spattering of green, yellow, purple, orange, and other colors making up small percentages.
American Wars in the early 1900s. Yeah, Keller said.
All right.
I don't know if they were making decks before that though, weren't they?
Well, you got to figure most of the U.S. like companies now were around the like late 1800s, early 1900s is where they trace their history back to.
Yeah, that might be. Yeah, is it the American flag? Like,
maybe.
Because
that's a good point.
The logo is blue. Oh, if the deck is red, the logo.
But again, though, then you have Cardamundi, who's from Belgium. What color is the Belgian flag?
Well, but wasn't USBCC Nintendo before?
Wasn't what? But I think
is it Cardamundi?
Cardamundi
company was Nintendo. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it was Cardamundi.
Yeah. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so we got a lot of people saying green and black are their favorite colors. So, fair enough. But I think, and I get that too. I think it's interesting to see where that motivation is. Who knows? It could even be some sort of psychological thing. I know blue as a color is meant to inspire trust, whereas red, in clothing at least. Well, no, red in clothing inspires like anger and passion and like fiery response, not necessarily love passion, but like anger motivated emotions.
Yeah,
which is interesting.
I think what Keller said sounds kind of believable.
Sorry, what was that?
He said that
the war.
I think because of the American wars in the early 1900s.
But like, what war was in the early 1900s though, other than World War I? And how would that this is where I'm curious about it. Like, it could be a patriotism thing, but then why would Cardamundi be on that same boat unless it's just they're following a trend that works? So I think there's
they're following a trend that works. I mean, we obviously.
Yeah. I mean, they're from. No, they're Belgium. No, they're. Wow, I forgot.
Cardamundi's in Belgium. I don't know where they're from.
So Cardamundi is
Belgium, right?
Yeah, they're Belgium. Yeah.
But when did they start? Then. Yeah. How long have they been around?
I have no idea. Keller also made a very good point. He said these are all good questions for the 52 Plus Joker convention next week.
Right?
So, little plug there, but also very, very true. Red, yellow, and black is the Belgium flag. Okay, so similar to the German flag. Yeah, so it's not like there would be a flag thing for Belgium then. And I wonder if it maybe is just like Cardamundi came to the scene after red and blue was an established standard and they wanted to fit in with it.
Yeah, I mean, Cardamundi came into existence in 1970, so they were probably just following.
It's that standard kind of. Yeah, so we'll have to ask some people who are big into those historical things, like Jason McKinstry or someone.
Yeah, Jason would know. That's for sure.
Well, hopefully he would know. If not, we stumped him, and then I'm gonna feel bad. But we'll keep it for the QA.
That'd be perfect if we stumped him. That'd be good. It will take him probably 26 seconds to find the answer.
So Stu actually had another good question here related to color, which is there a similar process with tucks? I know tucks are meant to complement the deck, but have you ever worked from the other side, tuck influencing the card design?
So I always start with the back on any project. It's always the back. And I mean, that's half of the tuck box, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, not always, but in a lot of decks, yeah.
Yeah. So,
especially when you bang out a back design in 2 days.
I'm trying to remember how I work. I think I do the tuck box first. So I start with the back design, and then I do the rest of the tuck box.
Yeah.
And then I go on the cards. So yeah, I'm trying to find like a standard Arcadia front, like bicycle has.
Okay.
To like just increase or make the brand stronger. Not have like a different, especially on the like standard magician decks.
Very cool.
Yeah. But yeah, it's mostly tuck first or back and then tuck.
Right.
I feel that's the first thing you see when you look at a deck, and I think it's the most interesting thing to print.
Yeah.
To have like letterpress printing, foils. Yeah. I mean, you can do that with cards as well. But yeah.
I'm gonna make the Visions deck as plain as possible, so it's dull and not interesting. And Christian looks at me. He's like,
it's coming in a white box, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
With the two contrasting colors.
Times New Roman. Visions.
I heard the color palette is charcoal and other shades of gray. We're
doing a selective coloring deck.
This is turning into the impaired vision deck.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh. Now this is gonna be for anyone who didn't see it, we'll flash this again real quick here just because I love the coloring on that Ace of Spades. So this is the Ace of Spades for the upcoming Visions deck that Steve and Christian.
Don't get stuck on the colors because we don't know what colors they're gonna be yet.
every time Steve shows me a card and I say to him, I'm like, dude, I love that red. He's like, yeah, no, we're not keeping that red. I'm like, what am I doing here?
Well, definitely no red.
Well, that was your idea to color it. If it was up to me, I would just keep it black.
Oh, dude!
You said, let's add some color to it.
Yeah.
Dude, but it's crazy. You know what the funny thing is? So I thought it looked great in black too, but I didn't share this with anybody yet. But what the hell? I'll share it anyway. So the
also, thank you, Mark. We appreciate the support, man. Always.
Oh my God, Mark! Thank you so much, brother.
You're too good, man. Thank you
so much. Yeah, I haven't said this yet, but we don't know what we're gonna call the deck yet. But there's gonna be a limited edition version, and Lautrec is printing it. And as you know, Lautrec is like the goat with color and foil and all that. So I wanted to, originally it was going to be black and white, I guess you can say. But, obviously moving forward, we had to make it in color if Lautrec's going to get a hold of it, And then once you did it, it was funny because he messaged me and he's like, yeah, I don't think the color looks good. And he sent it over to me and I'm like, oh my God. I showed it to Leslie and she's like, what is wrong with him? Like, it looks amazing. And then, yeah, that's how the color story went. And now we're just coloring it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely something that takes a lot of time, like you said, is figuring out the color. And, when I get the blue court cards, I'm like, oh, I like that color better, but I know it's not going to be that color either. It's just we got to figure out colors and what goes well. And like you said, when you have, or what we've talked about is when you have colors, you can't put too many colors on the face because you get charged per color. So if you have 34 colors on there or 7 colors, you're going to get charged for 7 colors. So you have to think, like, you have to be wise about how you're coloring the court cards compared to the back and how many colors you're using.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless you're doing CMYK.
Right.
Then you can't get metallic.
Yeah, but who prints with CMYK? No, I'm just kidding. I think, yeah, I
mean, you do it if you do with Cartamundi, if you do the foil on cards.
Yeah. No,
I was printed CMYK. Yeah.
I mean, they're. I mean,
But yeah.
they're. I'll say it right now.
Yeah.
I haven't known who I wanted to print with, and it's been like a back and forth thing. But it's definitely. I think I'm going with Cardamundi. So they just do such great work. They're so good.
Slimline.
Yes, Slimline B9. Their stuff just for you, Tyler.
I love it. I can't get enough of the Slimline stock. I love it.
It'll be Slimline. It'll be.
What up, Jason?
What up, Jason? And yeah, I just think that they print such a good job. They just do such a good job, and I just want your work to be aligned. I don't want to have any alignment issues. I don't even want to deal with that. We're gonna have a nice thin border. I don't want to have to worry about like a lopsided anything. I want it to be nice, and, you know.
I mean, that has to be fixed soon. No?
Yeah, no, don't worry about it. It's not gonna be fixed for any time soon.
No, I mean it's been going on years now. So
yeah, but
it looks like it's getting worse.
They bought USPCC. Like,
So Cardamundi did respond the other day saying that it was something they were going to look into, but there was significant research and potential cost into, correcting something like that. I think the problem is the impact of it. And, we've had this discussion with guests in the past as well, the impact of reduced custom printing because people are mad that the cut's not right is such a small impact on their overall business. So it's very difficult to actually sway their decision to potentially impact much larger revenue projects.
Now they don't even care because people are like, oh, I'm not printing with USPCC. And then they go over to Cardamundi, so it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, it's all the same money. So
they don't even care. But yeah, I think, for the most part, unfortunately, everybody loves their stock. So they kind of, it's worth it to get amazing stock that lasts a long time compared to a little bit of unevenness,
Yeah.
But yeah, what's that say? If members of 52
I just answered it there. But yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So yes, but I think, from the from that point of view, I think it's interesting to see whether or not, and it's funny though too, because even Cardamundi, who has like great quality, like we said, custom cards are not a large part of their business either, and ultimately if their quality starts to go downhill instead of everyone hoping that USPCC quality goes uphill, that's going to be, then what do? You're stuck with two printers. Maybe that's the rise of, newer printers such as WJPC and TWPCC and all these Taiwan and Chinese-based printing companies. So, and we've seen some great strides from them there, but
Jackson.
I love it. Absolutely love it. So glad to have you here, Jackson. So,
should we give people the lowdown
on Jackson? No, we still got a while before that, man. Yeah, it's a little early. I know you're excited, but it's still like 2 months out. Oh my God, my boys. What's up, Jackson? We missed you, man. How you doing?
Hello.
Christian, hello. 24 hours.
I've never spoken to Jackson before, so.
You haven't?
No,
Jackson.
Hi, Jackson.
You should definitely talk to Christian. You two would be able to pick each other's brains. Jackson is phenomenal at creation of typography. So
yes, if you need typography, talk to that guy. That's for sure.
He does some amazing work there. Yeah. So
he's like a nonstop graphic design.
Just powerhouse, yeah.
He literally just pumps out decks. It's crazy.
Yeah,
I don't know how he does it. I really don't. I don't know how he does it.
No. I mean, I spent like 6 months on one, just the production.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jackson's been in this game a long time now. I mean, he's passionate about it, which I think that's one of the things that you always see with deck designers. You have to be passionate to be successful in it, but there are still a lot of decks out there that lack passion, and no one could ever say that about his decks or your decks either. I mean, I think ultimately the ones who really stand the test of time and make it past their first Kickstarter campaign or ultimately end up getting a second deck funded, they're passionate about what they do, and it shows. So
and they're doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah, you can't give up after the first one. Like, you have to do quite a lot of decks to get into this.
Yeah.
And to get the ball rolling. So yeah, it just takes
all
time.
about.
Even Jackson, like when he was on, was talking about a lot of people nowadays, when they do a campaign, they throw all this stuff into it. And it's like, you know, and that's kind of where they get lost, kind of in their campaign, whether it's through the creation or backing or however, you know, the campaign is run. But they just get in with too much. You know, if you want to create a deck, just create a deck.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have
too many extras, you mean?
Yeah, especially like your first decks. Like you want to establish yourself as a deck creator, not a playing card, coin, sock, t-shirt, you know, shoe creator. Yeah, underwear. Yeah, clothing manufacturer. You know what? I knock it right there too. But we actually not too long ago did have a deck that came out, and it was their first deck, the undressed deck, and they crushed it with a deck and a pair of socks. So
yeah, but those socks were perfect. Speaking of merch, speaking of shirts,
yeah. So we have some. These are still in progress,
hoodies,
but we have hoodies and t-shirts that are gonna be finalized hopefully in the next couple of weeks, and we'll see how that all goes. But if anyone's going to be interested in merch, we will drop links once this all goes finalized. We're looking at coffee mugs, phone cases, potentially some t-shirts, some hoodies, and what else. So, and honestly,
some plank. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm telling you right now though too, like the one thing we were really big on, the reason we've really pushed off on merch for a while is we wanted to find good quality. And I have to say this shirt is phenomenal. It's 100% cotton and it feels great. Stu?
I'm really picky when it comes to apparel.
Yeah.
And I hate how most things are boxy. Like they're just made terrible. It's like a garbage bag. So I need stuff that's like athletic fit, feels good. It's not, you know, like cheap.
Yeah.
And when you're going through a lot of these, I guess, printing houses, a lot of them just use crappy boxy apparel. So this one is really good. And I'm pretty psyched on it.
Yeah. So Stu, I see you say, when can I buy these? We're definitely in the works for them soon. Hopefully, one other thing we want to make sure we do is anytime we make design changes to it, we're reordering samples of it to see how it looks ultimately. So the process, because it's all print to order and it'll hopefully keep the cost down there. We're looking to hopefully have this all up and running maybe say in the next like 3 to 4 weeks, somewhere around there. So we'll keep everyone in the loop. We'll definitely, you know, post about it on the Instagram as well. And
Jackson says garbage bag. Making fun of me, Jackson.
Oh my gosh.
That's what I love when Tyler does the sponsorship. You can hear him do Doc's playing cards, and then you hear my version. Yeah. Every single time I'm like, do I really sound like that?
Yes, you do.
I'm so surprised when I sound like that.
Stu, we're going to have to come up, and that's actually a very good point. We may come up, depending on the time, we may come up with some like, Christmas-inspired merch. I already have ideas spinning here.
Dude, an ugly Christmas hoodie.
I mean, any hoodie with our face on it, any hoodie with our face on it's going to be ugly, so we'll be good.
Listen, buddy. Listen. I don't know what you're talking about.
we'll do us with some Christmas hats on.
Why does it always have to be Christmas? I talked to Jackson about this in the past. Why can't we do a Hanukkah hoodie?
We can do Hanukkah hoodies.
You know, let's do a Hanukkah hoodie and a Christmas cup or something. I think we should do Hanukkah and Christmas hoodies. That'd be dope.
Anything I can sniff with your logo. Stu, we'll send you Stu, we'll send you stickers that you can sniff too. The glue's probably strong on those, so it'll be good. It'll smell
we're gonna smudge our apparel for you, Stu, with Jackson's coffee beans.
There you go.
Just make a tub of glue.
The tub of glue.
Just put your logo.
That sounds like a good plan.
Yeah, so merch is in the works. And we're always open to ideas too. Obviously, because we're doing this print to order, we're somewhat limited in what we can put merch on and how it's going to look initially. But ultimately, we want to continue to, you know, give you guys things you're interested in. If it's socks with our faces on them, we can make that happen. So
I wouldn't even wear that. Who would wear that?
I mean, dude, I'm just throwing it out there. Anything is possible. Remember that, you know.
Just so you guys know, we're not making socks with our faces on it. I don't care.
See, I disagree. But we'll keep that for an administrative meeting. So
exactly,
merch, guys, for sure. And you know, let us know. One of the things I'm curious about too. Obviously, we're gonna have a lot of color comments in the. I want to show the garbage bag on it.
Dude, that would be perfect. Me with my head popping out the top.
There you go. Oh my gosh. I don't
We'll have to make one for just Jackson.
Our merch is going to be such a dumpster fire, and I can't wait.
It's going to be great.
So
Dude, you know what? I think we should just do that. Create dumpster fire like merch, and that will be our thing.
I'm okay with that. I'm 100% okay with that. We'll have some simple stuff with just the logo on it, and then it'll be like ridiculous things like Steve and I driving around in like a 1980s cop car with like
why cop car?
Like, I don't know.
I think we should be like dumpster diving or something.
Oh my god, we'll have fun with it. We'll make ridiculous actually we'll use. I think this is where we're gonna go.
Dude, like Jackson said he could design. Jackson says he knows a designer. There you go, Jackson.
Perfect.
We'll have to create. Well, I have a great idea. We'll create merch for our episode, for our Jackson episode.
So
the 24-hour one.
There you go. Yeah.
Yes.
So I have an idea though. We should mimic. We should use for inspiration 80s buddy cop movie posters for our merch. So like Beverly Hills cop. And it'll be like you and I sitting on the front of a cop car, or like things like that, where it's very like
I like
buddy-esque.
Dukes of Hazzard better.
Dude,
I like
Dukes of Hazzard we could do. Like that's what
I
I'm
don't
saying.
like the cop theme. Two white dudes with a cop car.
I mean, we can make the cop car anything. We could make it like a 1980s gold Buick Regal. I don't care.
Oh, dude, Jackson, let's do it.
I'm 100% down with that, Jackson. That sounds delicious.
Down. Let's do it.
So,
Turner and Hooch. Good. We have to.
It's always Speedo weather if you're brave enough.
Did you ever do that Speedo thing, Christian, where you run in the water, like the cold water? Don't they do that every year on a certain day when the winter comes? Bunch of people.
Speedo?
I don't know if it's a Speedo.
But it's a thing.
But you're in Norway, so I'm sure a lot of those dudes over there wear Speedos.
No, yeah, we've been ice bathing a few times.
Yeah.
Like if you have a sauna and then you go out in the ice.
Nice. Man.
It's quite refreshing.
I can only imagine that.
Yeah.
Sounds like a real good way to wake up there.
Don't you do that in San Francisco?
Yeah, they do. I don't do that.
How cold's the actual the water actually get over there though?
Dude, it gets freezing. You kidding
Does it?
me?
I've never been in the Pacific Ocean. So
yeah, it gets cold, man.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely not like the East Coast, but that's funny.
What is water? just to call Steve out here. Here we go.
Goodness.
We're also going to start making shirts and maybe I don't know, what could we make? We'll have to start making emojis with Steve's words on them, just like water and what else could you say? Cards.
Marvelous decks.
There you go. Marvelous. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Keller, just so you know, we gave him the option of which one he wanted to do, and he felt so passionate about Marvelous Decks that he decided he had to be the one to do that ad. So
exactly.
Yes.
Jackson wants to see your next deck. You can hold it up for him.
Here, I'll even make
too late.
I'll even make Christian full screen here so he can get a good view. Where
Where's
are we
my
at?
camera?
Right there.
So this is the back.
Nice.
And then the core cards are they're antique inspired, or actually redrawn antique. Let me see if I can find some. It's much more difficult to show a deck of cards.
I love those jokers, man.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I absolutely love those jokers.
Cool. See focus?
Yeah.
And then you have a green version as well.
Nice.
I like that.
Some gaff
green
cards and stuff like that.
Oh, cool. I dig the court cards, how they're traditional, but they're custom,
Well, that's the thing. I was considering putting a standard corpse on them, but I wanted something custom. So
no, it looks good. It definitely
look
nice.
An antique Brooks Brothers deck, and I thought that was cool, and so I kind of modernized it a bit. And
yeah. That's cool. I dig it, man. I really like it.
The worst thing is to use a deck to an audience and then they think, well, this looks suspicious.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah.
Well.
Yeah. Jackson says don't ever use standard courts.
No, and I think that's a great piece of advice, unless they're yours.
Yeah.
I learned from my first Kickstarter.
Yeah.
It's crazy how many decks though really do use standard courts these days, and I think those are also a lot of the campaigns where you see, other glaring, issues, $20 shipping or things like that.
Yeah.
Theory 11 gets away with it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think they've built up.
Gets away with it.
Yeah.
Everything else is perfect. So.
Yeah, I think I think here's the difference. When you're a designer, right? You're a designer like Jackson, like yourself, like Lorenzo, like Lautrec. I think it's different than if it's geared towards magicians, right? That's where most of the standard quotes come into play. You have your Nox, you have your Theory 11, you have, decks like that were, I think, were created for magicians. And, when you have collector's decks, I think it's more of a creative process, I guess you can say. And that's kind of, I mean, I don't want to say it, but it's kind of not like being lazy, I guess you can say, right? It's just throwing, standard courts on something that you want to be a collector's a collector's deck or something like that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just a sign of laziness if you're designing it for the collector's side or, something like that. But I think when it comes to straight Magic, that's why they're standard courts, is because everybody, when they're performing it for other people, they know exactly what it looks like and they can relate to, what that cut is without trying to figure it out,
Yeah, that's true.
And I think even from that point of view, though, even custom touches to a standard deck are something that kind of makes them a little more yours, versus just literally the standard USPCC courts. I mean, we see it even with things like OPC or a lot of those decks. I enjoy the whimsical little additions that they put in their courts, but they're still standard for all intents and purposes,
Yeah, no, for sure.
And that's something, though, that you could see where you can really make something yours, even in small ways, where you put a little bit of that thought into it. And I think that's something that, especially on a collector's deck with the standard courts, it's just a matter of, it almost feels unfinished to some extent.
Yeah.
Stu.
But
yeah.
I've seen sometimes people just make a small tweak on standard courts, like they add in, they change the sword or something, and 100% custom. Well,
that's called a modified standard court. That's what those are called.
It's funny because when Tyler and I are going through the Kickstarter campaigns, we always it has standardish courts.
Yeah.
They're like custom courts.
Yeah.
They're like custom courts, and we're like, it has standardish courts.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've even seen it where people have claimed that they're using custom courts, and really they just used Arco courts instead of bicycle courts. And you're like, no, those are just Arco courts. And it's like, there you go. No true words have ever been spoken. Don't ever put your face on standard court, garbage bag.
He didn't say garbage bag. He said garbage bag.
Sorry, I'm not from Boston. I know how to enunciate.
Yeah, exactly. He also said, however, a completed deck with standard courts is a better deck. That was
better than a deck that was never made, which is very true. And I think, Jackson, you really just need to get Steve to do your voicemail message.
Yeah, we'll see.
That's gonna be another Deckin Around service in the future. We will have Steve custom record your voicemail message.
You know what word I could say that doesn't have any accent to all of you?
Mm-hmm.
Fuck off.
That was delightful.
Yeah, that's very.
Oh my gosh, I love that. That was so good.
I was gonna think of another word to say, but I couldn't. The one that I always go to was that one, and I haven't swore all episodes, so I figured I could let one out.
Oh my god, that was. Hey, listen. I mean, ultimately, that is so true. Steve can curse without any issues there. So,
Even if I do curse, they might not even catch it because they can't understand what I say.
I'm trying to think though. I don't think there's really a ton of curse words that your accent plays on it. So I feel like we're also getting off on the most random tangent here. So I apologize. But did we have any other questions from the audience or questions in general about Christian's work, how he got into cards or anything like that?
Yeah, we don't want to keep him up too late.
I know, because it's now almost 4 a.m. his time.
Yeah,
which we genuinely appreciate you coming on so late. I mean, I think if we had known, we would have.
I need to finish Harry Potter. So
there you go. So
you need to finish Harry Potter. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
You want me to tell you how it ends? No.
I've never seen it before. Have you seen it? It's about a wizard. Something. I don't.
Yeah, I mean that's debatable.
He's gonna start sneaking wands into your deck, Steve.
Yeah, right. He's gonna put actually on the Joker. He actually had this like little thing in there, and I'm like, what was that?
He was watching the Sorcerer's Stone before he designed your deck. I love it.
Ganesh has glasses.
So Jackson wants to know when your new deck is coming out.
So I've been waiting for the last Kickstarter project to fulfill, and that is happening now. So hopefully within 2 weeks.
Nice.
I don't have the dates yet. Yeah, but everything is ready to launch.
That's exciting.
Yeah, we look forward to that. Yeah. Now you have. I think the best thing, like Tyler and I, always talk about this, is I think the best thing is, since it's so close, is now the time to stop pushing the deck out there so everyone can see it, post it on all the message boards, the Reddits, the UC, and
get that hype going.
Get the hype going. Let people know. Post, even if you're responding, on your Kickstarter campaign and stuff like that. That way, people see it for like 2 weeks to 3 weeks to a month even before it even launches, and then they're like, okay, finally.
I'm so bad at marketing my deck. I'm so lazy. I'm not like Jackson.
So I think one of the good things there, and this is something that, ultimately something like Hootsuite or something where you can automate it all. You sit down one day, you schedule all your posts, and it costs you like, I don't know, $10 a month or something like that, but you use it for 1 month, you cancel it after, and it just posts everything for you to social media, and then you don't have to worry about it. Makes life a little bit easier.
Yeah.
But it's definitely worthwhile, because the more eyes you get on it, the more people you get excited. I mean, we even see it now. More and more people are starting to use the Kickstarter notify option, which I think, even 6 months ago, the amount of decks that would do that, it was more the big name brands. Now, even a lot of the smaller decks are starting to push it out there and be like, hey, like we're going to launch when we get 50 people who want to notify when it's ready to go. Things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, just put it out there, man. We'll start sharing it and all that other stuff. The more people that see it, the
better.
The better,
Yeah.
You can never promote a deck too long.
I mean,
well, you can, but
you can, yes.
You know what I mean. Obviously, it's different.
You can't promote
like
a
6
deck.
Months.
You can't promote a deck too much within a reasonable time frame.
Right.
That's true.
Of course.
Yeah. So
that's true.
Dude, but that being said, we're excited to see it. Well, go ahead, Christian.
I'm gonna be on this show every week from now.
There you go.
Isn't that the deal?
We're just gonna add another square in the bottom.
Everybody next week's guest is Christian.
Oh man, it's now Deckin Around with Christian. But I mean, I think
we'll call it Christian Around.
Christian Around. Hey.
Doesn't have the same ring, but we'll figure something out for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, Steve just told you our next merch is going to be us hanging out in a dumpster. You really want to get involved with this?
No thanks. I'll pass.
Oh my gosh.
We're gonna put Christian. We're gonna put Christian as a mouse at the bottom of like on the outside of the dumpster, like looking up, waiting for the food to drop.
There you go. Oh my god. This is gonna become a hoodie. I know it is.
Nice.
Dude, no, for real though, Christian, we really do appreciate you staying up so late, man. We really appreciate you sharing, your deck, the experiences you've had creating these decks, your Kickstarter process and everything, and just, coming on and being an awesome dude to talk to.
Heck yeah.
Oh,
thank you for putting up with me.
Yeah. Yes, we do. We genuinely appreciate you putting up with Steve.
For now.
Oh my gosh! But you
No,
know,
it's been fun. It's
been
yeah.
no, absolutely been a pleasure to have you on, man. And we appreciate everyone who came on tonight to check out the show as well. Don't forget to like the video if you haven't already. I know Matt Romerill's out there and he has not liked the video yet. So Matt, you better go like this. But that being said, also, we're going to do a quick word from our sponsor here. And then we're going to be announcing next week's guest. So make sure to stick around, everybody. Doc's Playing Cards, the driving force behind Lit Playing Cards, Juice Joints, and McClure and Stark. Keep an eye out for what's to come next in 2020. Follow along at Doc's Playing Cards on Instagram or docsplayingcards.com.
Hummingbird Feathers mimics the shimmer of a hummingbird in motion. Meticulously created with a specialized printing process using multiple holographic foils. Stunning tuck design and sculpted embossing with master letterpress creation. Featuring limited standard and gilded 3-deck sets. Pre-order yours today at marvelousdecks.com.
All I can think about is Jackson listening to
that. Jackson, and you can even choose who reads whatever you do as a sponsor. So,
yeah.
I'll
make sure I put as many eyes in there as possible.
We charge more for a Boston accent. Just throwing that out there. But as promised, next week's guest, everybody, is going to be Wes Barker. So make sure to check out the episode. This should be a really fun one. If you don't know Wes, he is a hilarious magician. He was actually a Penn and Teller Fool Us. He fooled them. He does a lot of really cool stuff on his social media with his wife. Absolutely hilarious, amazing magician as well. So we're really excited to have him on and pick his brain and just kind of, talk magic and cards with him. So thank you.
I'm pretty excited. Dude cracks me up.
He's hilarious.
So good.
So he started doing something on his YouTube recently too, where he will cut himself into movies, well-known movies, and pretend like he's having a conversation with the people, and it absolutely kills me every single time.
He's so funny.
So
he's definitely doing different things.
It's going to be a fun one without a doubt. Yep. So everyone, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and click the bell because you don't want to miss that episode. You want to get those notifications. And for anyone coming in late, make sure to like the video as well. We really appreciate you all coming out tonight. Thank you so much. You earned Thanks. Thank you, Matt. I feel like it's currency. If I don't get a Matt at the end of the episode, we did it wrong. So thank you so much, Matt. Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. Keep an eye out for the merch coming soon. Like I said, maybe 2 to 3 weeks. Maybe a little hiccup there if otherwise, but we'll keep you in the loop. Check an eye out on the Instagram. And Christian, thank you for coming on tonight, man.
Thanks, Christian.
Thanks.
Thank you, everybody in the chat. We appreciate you. Christian, we appreciate you. And
I appreciate you.
I'll see you tomorrow. I'll text you tomorrow.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Bye.